I serve this country, and you fine me $1,000.
He served his country without hesitation. But one parking ticket outside the VA hospital left him feeling defeated. In Judge Caprio's courtroom, respect meets justice in a way the veteran never expected. The morning air outside the Providence Municipal Court was sharp and cool, the kind that stung just enough to make a person feel awake. Cars crawled along the nearby street, and clusters of people hurried inside the building, clutching envelopes, citations, and the weight of mistakes they didn't intend to make. Among them walked Sam Delaney, a 68-year-old Army veteran with a slow, steady gait and a stiffness that time had carved into his bones. His left knee clicked quietly with each step, a souvenir from a deployment long past but never forgotten. His uniform today wasn't camo or medals. It was a faded brown jacket, jeans, and boots that had seen years of life. But the way he carried himself, the straight spine, the squared shoulders, still echoed the soldier he once was. Under his arm was a folded parking citation. A small slip of paper, but somehow it felt heavier than any rucksack he'd carried. Sam exhaled as he approached the courthouse doors. One ticket, he muttered to himself, should be simple in and out. But nothing felt simple lately. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier. Since then, he had lived alone in a small apartment, his days filled with doctor visits, occasional volunteer shifts at the VA, breakfast at the same diner, and long stretches of quiet that no radio seemed capable of breaking. The ticket wasn't the problem. It was why he got it. He had parked outside the VA hospital, where he had spent nearly the whole day going from appointment to appointment, trying to manage the persistent ringing in his ears, the pain in his knee, the shortness of breath that had started after his last surgery. He thought he parked legally. He always tried to follow the rules. But when he returned to his truck, exhausted and aching, the ticket was there under his wiper, flapping in the light breeze. Illegally parked in a restricted zone. Fine $100. He sighed now at the memory. $100 wasn't catastrophic, but it wasn't small either, not when medical bills already stacked like bricks in his mailbox. Inside the courtroom, Sam removed his hat and took a seat in the back row. The wooden benches creaked beneath him as he settled in, his hands folded over the ticket. Up front, Judge Frank Caprio presided with his trademark warmth and humor. Sam had seen clips of him online, videos of compassion, levity, fairness, but watching him in person was different. The judge wasn't performing for cameras. He was simply present, steady, human. A woman next to Sam whispered, leaning toward him, "You nervous?" Sam shook his head, though the truth was somewhere in the middle. "Just want to get this done," he said. One case after another moved with surprising rhythm. A young mother who parked during street cleaning, a college student who misunderstood a winter ban, an elderly man whose meter expired while he was in physical therapy. Judge Caprio listened to each story with patience, never rushing, never dismissing the human behind the mistake. Finally, the bailiff called out, "Samuel Delaney." Sam rose, tucking the ticket into his coat pocket, and made his way toward the podium. His boots echoed faintly across the courtroom floor. Judge Caprio looked up with a gentle smile. "Good morning, sir, and who do we have here?" Sam cleared his throat. "Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Samuel Delaney." "Good morning, Mr. Delaney." The judge's eyes softened. "And thank you for your service." Sam nodded politely, though his expression remained serious. "Thank you, sir." The judge opened the folder in front of him. "It says here you were cited for parking in a restricted zone near the VA hospital." Sam shifted his weight, knee popping faintly. "Yes, sir." "Can you tell me what happened?" Sam hesitated, not because he didn't know how to explain, but because he wasn't accustomed to talking about himself. "Well," he began slowly, "I had 3 appointments that day at the VA. Tinnitus evaluation, pulmonary checkup, and a follow-up on my knee surgery." Judge Caprio nodded, listening intently. "Those can take some time." Yes, sir, Sam continued. They ran longer than expected. By the time I got out, I was worn out. The lot was full when I arrived, so I parked near the side entrance where I'd parked before. Didn't see any signs saying I couldn't. He paused, but I guess there were some I missed. The judge flipped the ticket page. Officer notes say the area was marked as staff only. Sam looked down at his hands. Didn't see that part. My eyesight's not what it used to be. And you didn't intentionally ignore the sign. No, sir, Sam replied firmly. Never been the type to ignore rules, especially not ones meant to keep order. Judge Caprio studied him for a moment. The courtroom was quiet. A kind of respectful silence hung over the space, one that seemed to arise any time someone carried their life story, their scars, their battles, into this little municipal room. Mr. Delaney, the judge said gently, how long did your appointments last that day? About 6 hours total. 6 hours, Judge Caprio repeated softly. That's a full day. Sam nodded. Feels like it these days. The judge leaned back in his chair slightly. And this ticket, would paying it cause a hardship for you? Sam didn't want to seem dramatic. He was a soldier, after all. A survivor. Complaining wasn't in his nature. But honesty was. Well, he said carefully, I'm on a fixed income. VA disability covers part of the medical stuff, but every extra expense adds up. Judge Caprio nodded, then tilted his head. Mr. Delaney, how many years did you serve? 22, Sam replied. Army 3 tour. A murmur moved through a few people seated in the back. And you were honorably discharged. Yes, sir. Judge Caprio looked down for a moment at the citation, as if weighing the ink on the page against the decades of the man standing before him. Then he folded his hands. Mr. Delaney, he said warmly, it seems to me you've spent more than enough years serving others, and I think Providence can return the favor today. Sam blinked, sir. I'm dismissing this ticket, the judge said with gentle finality. I'm not going to charge you $100 for parking near the hospital where you were receiving care you've more than earned. Sam's chest tightened unexpectedly. He swallowed, voice rough. Thank you, Your Honor, truly, that means more than you know. Judge Caprio's expression softened. It means something to all of us, Mr. Delaney. You served your country. The least we can do is show you a little fairness and gratitude. The courtroom gave a soft, respectful nod, some even small applause. Sam lowered his head, emotion thick in his throat. Thank you, he repeated quietly. Thank you. The sky was a soft, pale blue, streaked with clouds that drifted lazily above the city. Cars rolled past, horns honking now and then, life moving at its regular, impatient pace. But inside Sam, something had slowed down. He stood on the courthouse steps for a moment, ticket folded in his hand, not as a bill, but as a reminder. He ran his thumb over the crease and exhaled. Dismissed. It wasn't about the $100, not really. It was about being seen, about someone recognizing that the man behind the citation had a story, a history, a name that used to be followed by Sergeant and Sir. He tucked the paper into his jacket pocket, not to keep the debt, but to keep the memory. As he started down the steps, a younger man called out from behind him. Excuse me, sir. Sam turned. A guy in his 30s, wearing a worn leather jacket and holding his own citation, jogged slightly to catch up. He had the look of someone who wasn't used to talking to strangers but had decided to try anyway. I just wanted to say, the man said, a little out of breath, thank you for your service and for I don't know everything. Sam shifted, unused to receiving gratitude from random people in parking lot lines and courtroom benches. It still felt strange, but he nodded. Appreciate that, he replied. I'm Mark, the younger man said. I was sitting in the back. I heard your case. That judge, he's something, huh? Sam gave a short smile. He is fair, that's rare these days. Mark looked at him thoughtfully. You know, I was ready to come in here and just be mad. At the city, the ticket, everything. but seeing how he talked to you, I don't know, gave me some faith back. Sam nodded slowly. There's good ones out there, you just don't always see 'em on the evening news. They stood in a brief, companionable silence. You headed somewhere after this? Mark asked. Sam glanced at his watch. VA has a support group meeting in an hour. I was thinking of going, haven't been in a while. Mark nodded. Well, I hope it goes okay. Sam gave him a nod of farewell. You take care of yourself, son. You too, sir, Mark replied. As Sam walked away, he could feel eyes on his back. Not the hostile staring of strangers sizing him up, but the quiet respect of someone who'd just witnessed a piece of his story. The VA hospital sat perched on a small hill, its brick facade familiar and worn. Sam had walked its corridors enough times to know where the floors creaked, where the coffee tasted least terrible, and where the sunlight came through in warm patches in the late afternoon. He parked carefully this time. No guessing, no, I've parked here before. He circled twice, squinting at each sign to make sure. Patient parking only. Staff only. 2-hour parking. Loading zoned. He finally found a clearly marked patient spot, eased the truck into place, and shut off the engine. For a moment, he just sat here, hands on the steering wheel. He thought of Judge Caprio's words. You've spent more than enough years serving others. Providence can return the favor today. It had been a long time since anyone framed his life in those terms, not as a burden on the system, not as a line item in a medical chart, but as someone who'd given something and deserved something back. He stepped out of the truck, knee protesting, and made his way toward the entrance. Inside, the familiar smell of antiseptic and coffee hit him. Nurses moved with practiced efficiency. Volunteers guided confused patients toward elevators and waiting rooms. The TV in the lobby showed a muted news broadcast. He headed toward the group room on the 3rd floor. The support group met in a modest space with beige walls and a circle of mismatched chairs. A coffee urn sat on a side table, next to a plate of store-bought cookies still partially wrapped in crinkled plastic. 4 other veterans were already there when Sam arrived. Henry, a Marine with loud opinions and a soft heart. Lewis, who wore a baseball cap and rarely made eye contact. Ray, who cracked jokes to deflect serious questions. And Martha, a Navy vet who carried herself with a quiet, unshakable strength. The group facilitator, Dr. Patel, smiled as Sam stepped in. Mr. Delaney, she said warmly, good to see you, it's been a while. Afternoon, Doc, Sam replied, easing into an empty chair. Everyone, Dr. Patel said, Sam's back with us today. We were just about to get started. We're focusing this week on stress, responsibility, and what happens when small things feel bigger than they should. That's every week, Henry muttered, scratching his beard. Bills, texts, mail, traffic, all of it feels bigger than it should. A few people chuckled. What brought you in today, Sam? Dr. Patel asked gently. Sam hesitated, then pulled the folded citation from his pocket and held it up. This ugly thing, he said. Henry squinted. You get a ticket. Sam nodded, parking near the VA, wrong spot. Lewis shook his head. They really out there ticketing vets at their own hospital. Guess so, Sam said, but I went to court this morning. How'd that go? Martha asked, leaning forward slightly. Sam looked down at the ticket, then up at the circle around him. I thought I was just going in to argue about a sign, he said, but it turned into something else. He told them about Judge Caprio, about the questions, about the moment the judge asked, would paying this cause a hardship, and actually waited for an honest answer. About hearing, I'm dismissing this ticket, and feeling the tight knot in his chest finally loosen. Didn't feel like he was doing me a favor, Sam said slowly. Felt like he was doing what was right, and that's different. Lewis shifted in his chair. I got a parking ticket last year, he said quietly. Didn't even try to fight it, figured nobody would care, just another old guy complaining. They do care, though, Martha said softly. Some of them do anyway. Henry snorted. Wish that judge could be everywhere. Sam smiled faintly. World would be a wild place if he was. Dr. Patel tilted her head. Sam, how did it feel being looked at as more than just a violator of a parking rule? Sam considered the question. He looked around the small room at the faces that understood things he never had to explain. It felt like I wasn't just taking up space, he said. Like the years before this, before the doctor visits, before the pain still meant something. Like I'm not just a body in a chair waiting for prescriptions. Ray spoke up for the first time. Sometimes I feel like that, he admitted. They see the file, not the person who lived the things inside it. There was a murmur of agreement. You know what got me the most? Sam added, his voice quieter. The way he said, Providence can return the favor. Like the city owes me something back. I'm not used to thinking that way. I'm used to thinking I'm the one who owes the country, the doctors, the agency, the people who made it home in better shape than I did. Survivor's guilt, Dr. Patel said gently. Sam exhaled, guess so. And having someone show you kindness, she continued, doesn't erase the guilt, but it reminds you that your value didn't end when you hung up your uniform. The room fell quiet for a moment. Martha's eyes shone. I needed to hear that, she said softly. Henry nodded, me too. Sam folded the ticket carefully and slid it back into his pocket. I think I'm going to keep this, he said. Not as a complaint, as a reminder that sometimes the system can see you, not always, but sometimes. Dr. Patel smiled. That sounds like a healthy way to hold it. Lewis scratched at the brim of his cap. You know, he said, hearing that makes me feel like maybe I should speak up next time something feels unfair. I always just take it, figure it's simpler, but maybe. I don't know, maybe not always. Yeah, Henry added. If a judge can listen, maybe other people can too. Bosses, doctors, our own families. Sam glanced around the room, a small spark of warmth building in his chest. I almost didn't come today, he admitted. Thought, it's just a ticket, Sam, deal with it and forget it. But it didn't feel small, and I think maybe it wasn't supposed to. You turned it into something bigger, Ray said, in a good way. Sometimes, Dr. Patel said, small events crack open something much deeper. A parking ticket turns into a question of worth. A short conversation turns into a reminder that you still matter, that your service still means something. Sam nodded slowly. Yeah, he said, yeah, it does. That evening, back at his apartment, Sam took the ticket out once more. The kitchen was quiet, save for the ticking of the old clock on the wall and the faint hum of the refrigerator. The small table by the window held a stack of medical letters, a salt shaker, and a single framed photo of his younger self in uniform, arm around his late wife. He placed the folded citation next to the photo. For a moment, he just looked at them together. The man he was then, the man he was now, the slip of paper that connected both in a strange, unexpected way. He grabbed a pen and on the back of the ticket wrote, VA parking, judge dismissed. Providence can return the favor. Don't forget, you still matter. He propped it against the frame. As the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the table, Sam felt something in his chest he hadn't felt in a while. Not joy exactly. Not relief alone. Something quieter. Something steadier. Dignity. He'd parked in the wrong spot that day at the hospital. He'd made a mistake. But in trying to correct it, he had stumbled into a courtroom where the law was tempered with understanding, where a judge looked at him, not as a case number, but as a veteran, a patient, a man. And that simple act of respect changed more than just his bank balance. The next time Sam pulled into the VA lot, he parked carefully, eyes double-checking every sign. Old habits of discipline were easy to revive, but as he walked toward the entrance, shoulders squared, there was a lightness to his step. He wasn't just an old soldier coming in for another appointment. He was someone whose story still mattered. And thanks to one small case in a modest municipal courtroom, he'd been reminded that sometimes, even in the most ordinary places, justice can feel like a salute.